Hey ladies, of course, and gents, please give me 2 seconds to introduce myself. My name is Kaspa. Now let me show you an exciting game that I just had featuring the Gioco Pianissimo Italian game. I mean, that's what most people play online, in over-the-board games and elsewhere. So I was playing against a 2162 rated player this afternoon, and you're going to see something like this in the opening stage where I sacrificed my e-pawn like that. I don't want to spoil it, just watch the game up to the end. After the game, I'm going to give a detailed analysis and an extra Italian tutorial that will fill the gaps that I left in my first tutorial video on how to beat the Italian game, which I believe has popped up in the card above. So don't skip and watch the tutorial at the end. Let's go! Right, here we go. It is time to bush gas my opponent. I intend to play bishop c5 on the second move. This is the bush gas gambit, guys. So let's see what my opponent is going to do. Bishop c5. Are they going to take my e5 pawn or play the top played move? Yep, bishop c4. I knew it. These days, nobody is taking on e5. I just don't know why. They mostly play this move, bishop c4. Anyway, so now I'm praying that my opponent plays pawn to d3, or rather the d3 Italian, if I play the next move, which is knight c6. If that happens, I'm going to play the Lucchini gambit with pawn to f5. So let's see if that's what will happen. Knight c6, please play d3. d3, please, d3. With pawn to d3, my opponent will be preparing to go knight g5 next, supported by their dark squared bishop, which is on c1, obviously. Yeah, it is possible for white to play pawn to... Yeah, I thought so. So, against this pawn to c3 move, I said, don't play your Lucchini gambit. Your Lucchini gambit isn't going to work. First, due to bishop takes g8. And if you think about it, this d3 move just prepares for pawn to d4. So you don't want to be aggressive for nothing if you think about it. What did I say in this position? The best you can do is to come back to your senses and just attack the e4 pawn with your king's knight. Anyway, there we've seen pawn to d4, something that I never anticipated at this stage. But it is good that my opponent has played this. So let's learn from this guy. The best you can do here is e takes d4. This is what I recommended, I guess, in my tutorial video. And I said whenever you see pawn to e5, just go pawn to d5. This, wait a second. I wanted to say I covered that line in my tutorial video. Yeah, so bishop b5 can be met with, I think bishop d7 in this position. No, my knight is under attack, the king's knight. So I need to move it to e4. At this point, white needs to take on d4. I thought they were going to take with a pawn, but knight takes gives me time to cast a shot if you think about it, hence unpinning my queen's knight, which is on c6. I'm very slow today because there is 2 seconds increment. By the way, castle shot is a blunder. I can just take. That knight is no longer... What rating is... Well, I'm playing against a 2162 rated opponent, and I'm surprised by the moves that they are making. Yeah, so this is a 3+2 rated... What? This is a rated match. I thought it was a casual match. That's why I'm playing like this, you know, taking my time. Anyway, it's not much of a stretch. So, I'm playing against a 2162. This is a 3+2 rated match, and I need to be very fast. So now I can retreat. My knight is under attack. With knight d6, I'm attacking the light squared bishop. See that The knight on d4 is pinned to the king. White needs to do something about this. Yep. So bishop a4. Now I can go in with my queen. Let's just be aggressive. Behind on time. So bishop e3 is something that I never anticipated once again due to an obvious move. Knight dc4. Let's just retreat my queen. Why not? Or maybe I should have played queen h5. I guess I'm just up a pawn for nothing. I have 7 pawns, my opponent has 6. What in the world is happening? I have no idea. Oh, pawn to b... Oh, God. Now bishop d6. My bishop was under attack and I didn't notice that. Let's see what else my opponent is going to do. No, this is checkmate. Literally checkmate. Very simple trap. That's check. Yep. Why do people do these things to themselves? And this reminds me of one chess quote, if I'm not mistaken, or statement that 90% of chess players just end up killing themselves. This is called self-murder in chess. I didn't do much. It's just my opponent who killed themselves. So this has nothing to do with me. I'm 100% innocent. Another chess quote says, the more you keep on attacking your opponent, the more you increase their chances to blunder. And that's what I just kept on doing in this game. I just kept on pressurizing my opponent and activating my pieces, putting them on their most potential squares. And see, once you do that, you will see how many times your opponents will blunder on their own. If you just play good attacking chess, it won't be you who will be checkmating your opponents. It's actually them who will be trying to do something and end up killing themselves. Anyway, by the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon or simply buying my courses at www.KaspaChess.com or on my Patreon page. That really helps. Let's go through the moves one more time. Back to square one. After e4, e5, knight f3, I played the Bushka's gambit. The whole idea was to give white a chance to take on e5 with their knight, after which I was going to play knight c6, like that. Point is, if knight takes, I was going to take back with my d-pawn, paving the way for my light squared bishop, like what we do in the Stafford. And probably if bishop c4 was played, which is the top played move in the Lichess database, I was probably going to sacrifice my bishop on f2, like that, making black lose their right to castle, and then go queen d4 check to win back a piece. Anyway, this is one common trap that I know in the Lucchini gambit after bishop c5, but my opponent played bishop c4, which happens to be the top played move. Most of the Italian players nowadays are not taking on e5, probably due to the fact that they don't know what this sack is all about. So they just play bishop c4 in an effort to play a game that they know. And this is why I played knight c6. The whole idea was to play the Lucchini gambit at this stage. See how I transpose between openings, you guys. Maybe you can also learn from me. So the Lucchini gambit works perfectly in the d3 Italian when white plays pawn to d3 on move 4. This is when you can play pawn to f5. Point is, you are allowing white to go knight g5, giving them time to target your weak f7 square, like that, so that you can now go pawn to f4. If knight f7, you simply go queen h4. Wanting to checkmate on f2, they castle short, and now this is when you follow it up with knight h6, as if you are counter-attacking the knight on f7. If they take the rook, now you follow it up with knight g4, wanting to checkmate on h2. If they play pawn to h3, you take on f2. That's just a free pawn. The knight also attacks the queen. They take back with their rook, and then you take with your queen, and after king h1, you go pawn to f3. And that's how you're going to be checkmating most of your opponents. If they take on f3 like that, guess what? You mate them like that. Or if they take back with their pawn, what do? You want to take on h3 with your light squared bishop, but it's blocked. So the best you can do is to play pawn to d5. This comes with an attack on the light squared bishop. If white does something about their h3 pawn to stop the mate, you can just take a free bishop on c4. Note that their knight on h8 is trapped. For some reason, if they take back with their bishop, now you have a mate in 5, starting with bishop takes h3. From here, you can figure it out, or up to you guys. Solve that mate in 4. There's absolutely nothing that white can do to stop that. Let me know the answers in the comment section down below. Anyway, in the game, instead of playing pawn to d3, my opponent played pawn to c3, which is the classical variation of the Italian. Perhaps I can say the gioco pianissimo, a very silent game. We know the moves from here. After c3, they intend to play pawn to d3 and then put their bishop on b3 like that. I'm talking about this variation. That's very slow chess. What you want to do here is to play knight f6. With knight f6, you are just attacking the pawn, and of course you're going to see your opponents playing pawn to d4. That's the move you want to see on the board, and that's what my opponent played. I said just take. If pawn takes, you first of all give a check, pap. After any move, say bishop d2, a forcing move, or kind of a forcing move, here you can just go knight takes e4. That's the purpose of playing knight f6 back on move 4. If bishop takes b4, you just take back with the knight. Simple chess. Queen b3 looks tricky, but you have pawn to d5 in this position. Even if they take your knight, you just take like that. And at the end of the day, you are going to remain with equal number of material. You have equal number of pawns and equal number of pieces. But Stockfish thinks you have a slight advantage due to your light squared bishop and the fact that white has an isolated pawn on d4. So you may need to play castle short on the next move, or just bishop e6. I prefer castle short, just putting my king to safety in this position. Sometimes what white does, instead of taking the dark squared bishop on b4 like we saw, they play queen e2 in this position, just pinning your knight. I mean, remember that you just took on e4 with your knight. After this, you can just play pawn to d5 once again, or queen e7. Yes, even bishop takes d2 works. So d5 is the main move. You are attacking the light squared bishop. They play bishop b5 as always, or just taking. And now this is when you can simply castle short. Seal the deal. Sometimes you can play bishop d7, even queen e7. So many things that you can do. No need to memorize anything. So, grandmasters prefer the move bishop d6 in this position, which is okay because you anticipate that white is going to castle short in no time. There's a tricky move actually, bishop g5. If this happens, you can just go queen d7 and forget about it. Looks like white can do this, but nope. You have bishop takes e5 in this position, and that was just a free piece. Next, you are going to win a bishop. So, that's how you approach this. Anyway, in the game, instead of c takes d4, after e takes d4, my opponent played pawn to e5. But thanks to my first lesson on how to beat the Italian game gioco pianissimo, because that's where I emphasized on the move pawn to d5. At this point, I was expecting that maybe my opponent was going to take on f6 like this. But guess what? This is a theoretical position, and it has always been proven to be in favor of black. Even after f takes g7 happens, you can just play rook g8. This means white is not going to enjoy their game if they castle short in the long run. This is theory, guys. Even if white takes back on d4 with their pawn, you are at liberty to take back with any piece that you want, apart from the queen in this position, yes. So you can take back with either your knight or your bishop. It's advisable to take back with your knight. If they try to keep the tension on the center like that, guess what? You can go bishop g4 if you want, or just oversimplify things. Why not taking on f3? If they take back with their queen, you oversimplify. I mean, you have already won this game. If they take back with their queen again with check, guess what? Here I wouldn't waste time to play queen e7. I just want to oversimplify things again. I'm going to win the pawn on g7. I'm way ahead in development, not to mention that I'm up a pawn. And position is just well simplified. I have a bishop, queen takes, king takes, knight d2, bishop e6. That's a very nice way of developing a piece while defending. Say rook c1. You can even go pawn to b5 here, holding on to your extra pawn for good or for better for worse. I don't believe in a4 due to a6 or even pawn to c6. Why not? b3, the minority attack. I can even take. There's nothing happening here. If rook takes, I go b takes a4. Anyway, I hope you guys have learned one or two things from this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Once again, if you want to watch my most recent tutorial on how to beat the Italian game gioco pianissimo, simply watch the video that has popped up in the card above, or head over to my channel's homepage and browse through. There you will find my most recent upload on how to beat the Italian game Gioco Pianissimo like I did. By the way, you can check out my courses at www.KaspaChess.com or on my Patreon page. That's how you support this channel. By the way, I don't ask for donations or free money. So the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon or simply buying my courses. That really helps.